startups in South Africa, specifically tech startups, and the number of black tech startups is on the rise, which is the good news. That was revealed in the 2017 Venture Burn Tech Startup Survey, powered by Telkom Futuremakers. The percentage of black startups has risen from around 26% in 2015 to 50% this year. But the problem is just 3% of black tech startups turn a profit, compared to 16% of their white counterparts. Well, to discuss, we're joined by Litha Kutta, Group Head of Enterprise and Supplier Development at Telkom, from our studios in Pretoria. Good evening to you, Mr. Kutta. What is the state overall of tech startups in this country?
Oh, thank you very much for the opportunity, and greetings to your viewers. So what we are saying in the research that we've done is that in the past, Western Cape was the dominant player in terms of developing tech startup. But when we did the research this year compared to 2015, we've seen the surge in Gauteng, where now for the first time we're actually seeing them being able to achieve more than 40% of the tech startup that are actually participating in the market, compared to 30% that they were in 2015. And the nice thing about it is that also it brought together an opportunity for black tech SMMEs, whereas in the Western Cape there's pretty much a very low participation of black tech businesses. We've also seen that there is a bit of a challenge in terms of male versus female, because the tech startup on the research, we've seen that 72% are male, whereas when we looked at the other aspects of ownership, there was a female ownership. Unfortunately, we couldn't find one single black female ownership company in the survey. We were only able to see where there is a mix between male and female. We've also seen that the other provinces are very flat, with Cape Town and also Joburg dominating, taking almost, in terms of participation, almost 92% of the participant of tech businesses, whereas the other provinces were very flat, and the two other ones which are really starting to come up, but very little that we see there, that is the Eastern Cape and also the KZN. As for the other provinces, there's nothing much that is happening. So we've also seen that in terms of access to markets, they really struggle to secure markets locally. Most of the profitable tech businesses were able to access markets internationally, which means that our local corporate and government sector is not really spending a lot with tech businesses.
In terms of, let me stop you there, Mr. Kutta, in terms of demographics, Mr. Kutta, in terms of demographics, so what you're saying is that white males are still starting the most tech businesses and being the most successful. What is that about? Is it about access to capital, to those markets as well?
Yes, what we've seen is that 40% of the tech businesses, they self-fund. So you can already see that where the money lies, because the majority of the black tech businesses don't have the money to fund themselves. Secondly, we've also seen that our white colleagues are able to secure markets easier internationally compared to the black entrepreneurs who unfortunately don't have that level of access. And also just from access to technology, that our male and white are able to access technology far more quicker, and also they are skilled when it comes to coding compared to our black entrepreneurs and also female entrepreneurs.
And it's so hard to turn a profit. White startups 16% turning a profit, black startups only 3%. So quite a big discrepancy there. Is there anything that can be done offhand?
Yes, so when we looked at the numbers, what we've seen is that the entrepreneurs that are white-owned have been in business longer, and also this is not their first type of venture they are going to. So we've seen the ones that are successful are maybe on their third business that they've set up, whereas when we looked at the black-owned businesses, they're actually on their first venture and only at a very early stage of their businesses. We're hoping when we do the study for the next 2 to 3 years, we'll be able to see a far more better results, because at that time probably they'll be able to be in their second and third year. Also, we've seen that they have to operate for 2 years at least to be able to turn over profitability, whereas when you look at the black companies, are pretty much before the 2-year threshold, whereas the white-owned businesses are above operating for 2 years.
Entrepreneurs always say you have to be willing to fail. So is there that understanding? And maybe because more black people are starting businesses, like you say, they have to go through those hoops and maybe success will come.
Can you repeat yourself? Didn't hear that.
I'm saying, I guess, is there an understanding that you do have to maybe fail once or twice before you get to maybe the third or fourth tech business that is successful?
Yes, basically what it sounds like that, but also it means there needs to be more mentorship from those that have made it and failed many times to be able to pass the skills to those that are starting. Because we can see that through multiple failures, people become more smarter, but we are saying that that level of knowledge can be passed through to those who are starting if there could be a level of mentorship for those that have already made it. So it's important that we are able to pass on the lessons so that the people who are starting up don't have to repeat those type of mistakes.
Litha, finally, it's said that South Africa not really an entrepreneurial nation. Is this just a drop in the ocean of the sort of activity that we need to see?
Yes, we've got challenges in the space because obviously there are challenges in terms of our education system, which is not pretty much able to churn out people that are able to be entrepreneurial. There's no entrepreneurial training whatsoever in our universities and even at the high school level. So we are finding people that are successful even in this research. 78% are people that come from the corporate sector, meaning that they've worked for, and also they've been able to gain experience. And also with the high unemployment, people are also not getting job opportunities. So you can actually see that they don't get the insights of how business works, which will actually help us in terms of being able to find entrepreneurs that we can actually support.
Well, hopefully this trickle becomes a real surge in future. Thank you very much. That was Litha Kutta from Telkom talking about the Venture Burn Tech Startup Survey powered by Telkom Futuremakers.